This is question number 9 of homework 1, problem 11-28. So here we're provided with information about the two stocks and their expected returns and their respective standard deviations. And A-1 calculate expected return of a portfolio that is composed of 31% A and 69% B when the correlation between the returns on A and B is 0.46. So the portfolio expected return is the weighted average of the expected returns of the individual assets within the portfolio. So that means this information about the correlation between these two assets, the two stocks here, is not useful for the calculation of the expected return of a portfolio, but it will be useful when we calculate the standard deviation of the portfolio later. So if we check our slides, the formula for the expected return on the portfolio is the weighted average of the expected return of the two stocks within the portfolio. And the weight is the proportion of the wealth invested in each stock. So let me use Excel to first write down the information. Expected return on stock A, just copy the number 0.086, and expected return on stock B, that's just copy, might be easier. Just copy the number here. And also write down sigma RA, that's the standard deviation of stock A. Copy that number here. And sigma RB, that's the standard deviation of stock B. So expected return of the portfolio, let me call that EPRP. Okay, expected return of the portfolio is the weighted average. So let me also put down the weight information as in here, WRA. And in this question, we are told 31% will be invested in stock A. Hence, the remaining, which is 1 minus that, 31% will be invested in stock B. So expected return on the portfolio will be a weighted average. The weight is the proportion of the wealth invested in each stock. So it is the WRA times the expected return of stock A plus the weight on stock B times the expected return on stock B. And then we have to go back and check our rounding requirement. Enter your answer as a percent rounded to 2 decimal places. So let me change the cell format, right click, and then change that to percent and keep 2 decimal places. So now I can just copy that number back, or write down this number back, 12.74% expected return on the portfolio. And part A-1, the standard deviation given the same setup. Now for the standard deviation, so sigma for the standard deviation, the relationship between the portfolio standard deviation and the standard deviations of the individual stocks within the portfolio is determined in this equation here. Sigma p, that's the portfolio standard deviation, square, which means the variance of the portfolio, equals WB. Here you can change this to WA, because in this example, the two securities are bond and stocks. So that's why we have the B and the S here, but now we have the stock A and the stock B. So it's WA sigma A and then square plus WB sigma B, and then square plus 2 times WB sigma B times WA sigma A and times WB sigma B, and then this correlation coefficient between the two stocks, which is provided as let me call that rho RA RB, and that's given by the setup to be negative 0.46. So I think it's better to change this to minus sign, otherwise Excel might not recognize that symbol. So sigma P is sort of, let me first calculate the variance of P. Variance of the portfolio is simply given by this equation here. It's WA sigma A, right? WA sigma A. So it's and then we want to have a parenthesis because we want to take the square of that. So it's WA times sigma A, and then close the parenthesis and take the square of that, and then plus WB. Also, we want to open parenthesis, WB times sigma B, and then take the square of that, and then plus 2 times WA, and then times sigma A plus WB times sigma B. And then finally, we need this rule, the correlation coefficient, correlation between these two stocks. So that's our the variance, and then we can take the square root of that, which is S equals SQRT Excel, and open parentheses, square root of that, and then we can get our standard deviation of the portfolio. And then go back to, for the rounding requirement, enter your answer as a percent rounded to decimal places. So again, we need to change this to percent and keep 2 decimal places. 38.69. And finally, calculate the standard deviation of a portfolio with the same portfolio weights as in part A. When the correlation coefficient between the returns on A and B is, actually, I think I was looking at a negative number, but this correlation coefficient here actually should be positive. So this is positive. And then I need to change this to be the 48.58. So now I need to change this to be a negative number row. So this is actually the answer to the last part, 38.69. So let me now check my work. Good job.